Expats are included in Thailand's vaccination plan. Phuket officials consider lifting rapid test requirements. And cases must drop for the Phuket sandbox model to go ahead. I'm Kira Mack and you are listening to the Thai Expat Daily Show.
On to a lot of inquiries and questions from the expat community about our vaccination plan for foreign residents living in Thailand. We do understand and hear you very, very clearly. So we'd like to, it's quite understandable why there are lots of questions surrounding this, but allow me just to give you a few clarifications. And I'd also like to say that the Department of Disease Control had already given a press statement about this as well in the Thai language. So we've been working together very closely to set up a plan. We'd like to confirm that Thailand's vaccination strategy is based on ensuring accessibility to all those who require it, regardless of their nationality. Comments on this regard have been taken out of context in the media. We know that. So we'd like to reiterate that Thailand continues to include foreign residents in its vaccination program, and foreign residents have been inoculated in the first phase already. But due to the limited number of vaccines we had procured in the beginning of our vaccine rollout, we had to prioritize in order to prevent death and protect those who are most vulnerable to contracting the COVID-19, to protect our health systems as well. And therefore, vaccinations in the first phase prioritize medical personnel, frontline workers, the elderly, and those with serious underlying diseases, as well as those living within the high-risk zones, such as border areas. The first phase has already commenced, and it started at the end of February, and it's still ongoing, which is going to start in June and will run until the end of this year. We have expanded within this phase, the second phase, vaccine coverage to include the general public and people working for the public sector, including the diplomatic community and international organizations, as well as foreign residents in Thailand based on their membership in the risk groups.
So there you have it from a spokesperson from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs acting on behalf of the CCSA. Expats are included in Thailand's vaccination plan, a spokesperson from the CCSA said today, clarifying recent reports that said Thais had priority in the first phase of inoculations. The spokesperson says comments were taken out of context and, in fact, foreigners have already been included in the first phase of vaccinations. A Ministry for Public Health spokesperson had recently told the Bangkok Post that doses are currently reserved for Thais who are at high risk of infection or who are living in an area where there is a severe outbreak, he said. He said foreigners need to wait until there is a clear vaccine policy announced by the government. The CCSA spokesman said comments made on the vaccinations for foreigners were taken out of context in the media. And basically she goes on to explain, as you heard in the initial clip, about what's going on. So to sum it up, yes, foreigners can now get vaccinated for COVID-19, but it will be done the same as everybody else. So currently the registration is for over 60s and people with underlying conditions. So those people can register. Currently, foreigners cannot register on the MoreProm app, but they're trying to come up with a way. They're possibly thinking to make a new app that will be specifically for foreigners, or have you just contact your local hospital to arrange your vaccination through there. And this will be done on a stage basis. So everybody, over 60s first, maybe next it'll be the general public. They will list who it is, and we will go and get our vaccine if you want. So I think, a lot of stuff over the last few weeks, it's just crazy to think. If you look back on my last 4 episodes, I've literally spoken about the vaccination program every day because there is different conflicting information each and every day. One day it's yes, one day it's no, but today seemed to me very definitive. Yes, foreigners will be vaccinated, and we understand that expats are getting a bit annoyed with the information that's being put out there and being misinterpreted and reported incorrectly. Now, whether or not it really has been reported incorrectly is another thing. I do find that a lot of people within these ministries like the sound of their own voice and like to create not hostilities, but conflict sometimes. But it's good to see that people at the top have noticed what's going on and decided to put an end to it with a clear message. And the reason I know it's a clear message is today, now this afternoon, the province of Phuket has announced that foreigners who have work permits can apply on May 11th for their vaccination. And basically their HR have to contact whoever it is within the Phuket province to arrange the vaccine. You have to hold a current work permit to be able to get it. But that is obviously a start, and that shows a policy direction that now has been passed down straight to the different departments or provincial health departments saying, yes, start vaccinating foreigners, and we need to be very focused on this. So that's a good thing that's happened today, I think. And I think a lot of people, if you look on Twitter, especially on Twitter where there's a lot of talk, you see a lot of people kind of like, right, well done, they've done the right thing. Yes, it's been a mess, but fair play to the Thai government for actually sorting it out. I mean, there's a lot of other messes going on at the moment. So this is one they've managed to fix, and fair play to them. I think the next issue is getting vaccines, which you're going to have a problem with, but that's not our problem. As long as we know we're in line and we can apply, I think we're all very happy. Just like any country, you have to wait for your turn. And as long as we know that waiting for our turn will result in us getting a vaccine, I think expats are happy with that. Now, a story coming out from the Phuket news is about the Phuket officials are considering lifting the rapid test requirement for entry into Phuket. Now, as some people may know, that if you're traveling into Phuket at the moment, or through the airport or over the bridge, the land bridge, you are required to either have a COVID-free test, been vaccinated, or if you don't have either of them, you need to actually take a rapid antigen test. For foreigners, it's costing 500 baht, and for Thais, it's currently free. So this story basically is going through the funding for the free Thai version ends on the 15th of May. And basically they are thinking about stopping it all. Otherwise they'll have to charge Thai people 500 as well. And that may be prohibitive to people coming into Phuket. So it looks like they may scrap the rapid antigen test coming in on the land border. So who knows? And we will have to see what happens with that story and whether or not it will continue on or not. To be honest, they seem to have found very little cases of COVID coming through, and the rapid antigen tests have proven not to be that accurate as well, which seems to also be a problem. So that's definitely a story we'll keep an eye on, and whether or not it will continue or not. Story which definitely will be of interest to expats along with people considering coming to Thailand in the future is the next story about the reopening of Phuket on July 1, which they're calling the Phuket sandbox model. So the headline is cases must drop for sandbox scheme. The number of COVID-19 cases in Phuket must reach 0 before it reopens to foreign tourists on July 1 as scheduled under the sandbox scheme, said the tourism sports minister. The government is also planning to initiate a plan to collect 300 Thai baht from foreign tourists starting next January to set up a tourist fund for emergency use. And this is coming out of the Bangkok Post. We have to speed up inoculations, particularly in Bangkok, to achieve herd immunity by the fourth quarter. The number of daily infections should be below 200 by the end of this month to restore international tourism confidence. Once the spread is under control, the government will resume travel bubble discussions with Singapore, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Laos and Malaysia. No country wants to engage in travel bubble discussions with Thailand when there are still high rates of infection. The Phuket Sandbox, a reopening scheme for vaccinated tourists without quarantine, requires higher standards, he said. The government anticipates 0 cases on the island before July 1. If 70% of residents on Phuket are vaccinated, but new cases still emerge, the ministry will discuss with the Public Health Ministry about further action. He said that the ministry is maintaining its goal of 3 to 4 million international tourist arrivals, assuming the tourism sandbox pilot carries on as planned. In the fourth quarter, 10 areas are scheduled to take part in the Sandbox initiative. There's Phuket, Phang, Krabi, Koh Samui, Pattaya and Chiang Mai should already be participating, while Bangkok, Phetchaburi, Prachuapkhiri and Buriram will begin in the fourth quarter. He said neighbouring countries and the Chinese market must be watched closely, particularly the latter with its Golden Week holidays slated for October. It is unclear whether the Chinese government will allow outbound travel by that time. So this story is, well, I think a lot of us have anticipated that, there's going to be, I personally don't believe July 1 is going to happen. I would love it to happen. I think it would be a great thing, but they're overly cautious. The idea of having 0 cases now in Thailand ever, I think, is going to be a dream. It's just not going to happen. COVID's going to be here to stay for quite a long time, and we just need to live with it, learn to live with it. We need to be vaccinated. People coming in should be vaccinated. And as long as that's happening and we still continue to wear a mask, wash our hands and, practice a reasonable amount of social distancing, we will get through this. But this overly cautious, there has to be no cases. As far as I'm concerned, it's nonsense. It's just not going to happen that way. And this 0 case policy that the government have had for quite a long time is just not based on any kind of science. And if you look right now, if across Europe, you can see many countries are gearing up for summer holidays. The UK looks like they're going to be back to normal in a couple of months' time. Ireland, they say it'll be August by. Italy are reopening to tourists. Same with Greece, same with Spain, same with Portugal, Canary Islands. Everybody's reopening. As vaccinations happen, it's time to reopen. And the Thai government need to take a different approach. But unfortunately, we have the same old dinosaurs in charge with the same very small-minded mentality. And it needs bigger thinking and more proactive approaches to it. Otherwise, we're just going to have an empty country with nothing here because, to be frank and honest, the tourist businesses cannot last much longer. And that is the truth. So let's hope they start to rethink how they're going to do things, and let's hope that we see some reopening by the third to fourth quarter of this year. Thanks for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating. We are available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.